Welcome to the Viva Vegan Minisode with me, Faye.
And me, Erin.
So we want to kick off this episode with a big thank you to everybody that donated to our crowdfunding cinema ad campaign. We smashed the £40,000 target.
Yeah, it happened so quickly. We've still got a couple of days left of the crowdfunder at this current point, but so far we've already hit 40,000, which we couldn't have done without you guys. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it was amazing. We thought it would end on the 18th of March, but it was the start of March, wasn't it? And we did it. And crucially as well, it means that can be now match funded by a generous donor who's giving us an additional 40,000. So we've got £80,000 in total, meaning this can be seen by 1 million people in the cinema.
One of the amazing things about cinema is that people remember the adverts they watch weeks and weeks after. The information that we're showing in our advert about the dairy industry will hopefully be retained by the British public for weeks after, and it really is going to make sure that they're engaging with the information.
Yes, thank you once again. We could not have done that without you, and it's going to have such a huge impact.
Yeah. Thank you again.
So from one congratulations to Viva to another congratulations to Plates. It's a Michelin-starred restaurant. It's opened in London only 7 months ago, I think. And after 7 months already, they've received a Michelin star.
Yeah, so Kirk Howarth, the owner of the restaurant, he's just received the Michelin star. The restaurant is fully booked already. They do a 7-course tasting menu, all plant-based for just £75. So there's definitely high demand in London. So again, congratulations to Plates. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's always great to see vegan restaurants absolutely thriving, or plant-based restaurants in this case, but thriving and really making an impact. So yeah, great to hear that. Lovely fine dining. I can't wait to get along. And we will, of course, happily go along if if that's something you'd like us to go along and review. We are more than willing to do that, aren't we, Erin?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so a little bit of news closer to where we're based. Bristol University, the students have actually just voted to go plant-based.
Yeah, so supported by the amazing Plant-Based Universities campaign, the students have just passed their motion, which means hopefully in the future the university will be catering 100% plant-based. As we know from the fantastic research that Plant-Based Universities has conducted, this means that the university can become more sustainable, and hopefully it will make a big change in the future and be a paving stone to even more universities doing it again.
So well done, Bristol.
Yeah.
Keep fighting the good fight. So you might have seen a lot of headlines which are kind of created to disparage the fact that oat milk is becoming much, much more popular with the general public. I think it's a third.
Yeah, so a study has actually just recently come out suggesting that a third of the UK public would happily take oat milk as the default in coffee restaurants. So really, that isn't even people who are necessarily going vegan, but it's just showing that people are a lot more open to these plant-based alternatives. But as usual, that does mean the dairy industry is trying to push back against that. So there have been a lot of misinformation headlines spread lately suggesting that oat milk has a dangerous impact on glucose spikes. So this headline actually comes from a little bit of misinformation, and the amount of oat milk that you need to be drinking for these dangerous glucose spikes is a lot. Rebecca Jones, who we had recently on the podcast, and then also Dr. Justine Butler, who's our amazing head of research at Viva, has just done a really good blog post over on the Viva website discussing this. And to cut it short, the outcome is, as long as you're having a regular amount of oat milk in your diet, so, a couple cups maybe here and there in teas and coffees, you'll be completely fine. I think the idea is maybe don't go home and drink a litre at the end of the day, but it's really...
And this is for diabetic people as well.
Yeah.
It's everything in moderation, which is a lot of common sense. But obviously that won't grab those sensationalist headlines.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if, oat milk isn't what people are wanting, there are so many amazing plant-based alternatives: soya milks, almond milks, coconut milks, rice milks. I think you're even saying there's hemp milk now.
Yep.
So there's so many amazing alternatives. If you are a fan of drinking oat milk, then it's just making sure that you're not having lots and lots of it in your diet, and it should be completely fine.
Absolutely.
So the next story we're going to talk about is quite upsetting, but I think it's really important to discuss. So you may have seen that Joey Carbstrong, who has done a lot of work with Viva in the past, he's just released a very poignant investigation into a no-stun abattoir down in Warwickshire. It was mainly focusing on the slaughter of goats and sheep, and the things that he found were absolutely abhorrent.
Yeah, this is very triggering for people, so if you don't want to hear that, we suggest you mute me now. They were playing in the last sort of few moments before these poor animals were slaughtered. They were playing the sounds of wolves to keep them absolutely terrified and intimidated. There was an example where the throat hadn't been slit and the animal was clearly not dead and was just bleeding out on the floor for 1.5 minutes before anything was done. It's some of the most cruel kind of violence and premeditated cruelty as well. And it's very upsetting to watch.
So one thing in particular, which I think has stuck out to a lot of people, was the complete disregard of the Food Standards Agency. Joey's investigation shows an agency worker coming in and witnessing improper slaughter and taking absolutely no action against it. I think this really goes to show how it isn't just one bad apple in the system, it isn't just the slaughterhouse's fault, but also the entire system really having complete disregard for these poor innocent animals and the way that they're being killed.
The good thing about this documentary, if there is one, is that it is opening more and more people's eyes. And the more and more we're aware of this, but a lot of people aren't. And the more that this kind of comes out and comes to light, the more people are going to lobby, the more people are going to put pressure on these absolute jokes of bodies to do a proper job and to look and hopefully persuade people that actually this isn't even an answer and just to go vegan in the first place. The cruelty is absolutely, it's abhorrent to watch. So be in the right frame of mind. I did cry after watching it. And I'm sure a lot of you will too.
Yeah, if you'd like to watch the investigation, it's available on Joey Carstrong's YouTube channel, and also there's an amazing independent article that's been written by Jane Dalton.
So, off the back of that last story, we know that this isn't an isolated kind of difficult thing to watch, and we understand that with everything going on at the moment in the news, in the world, it can feel quite powerless. So, Erin and I were kind of discussing how difficult it can be to be vegan on top of everything else going on at times for people if they're not getting the right support or their friends are not maybe vegan themselves. And we were kind of looking online at some really exciting and uplifting platforms to follow.
Yeah, so Good Vegan News and The Hopeful Vegan are two fantastic pages. They're on Instagram and Facebook. And some really good news about them is they've been gaining a lot of popularity lately. So people are interested in the uplifting stories that they've been posting, the positive scientific research coming out about veganism. And I think we'd just like to recommend that, among the sea of quite upsetting stories that are coming out around the vegan movement about these horrible investigations that are happening, there is so much good news, and it's important for people to protect their well-being and to follow these sort of newses. So we'd really recommend giving them a follow. Of course, our social media platform as well, Viva Charity on Instagram and Facebook, always tries to post some uplifting vegan news that is coming out. So we'd really recommend making sure there's a balance of that on your social media feed.
Completely agreed. And for anybody who's kind of querying statistics and things like that, we mentioned her already. We have Dr. Justine Butler, who's our head of research in-house. So everything's kind of peer-reviewed, isn't it? And accurate. So yes, keep smiling, everybody. Don't let things get to you, and do try to engage in some really positive content as well.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching today. We hope we've updated you on some fun vegan news that's coming out and also some important stories that are coming out. Again, thank you so much to everybody who contributed to the amazing crowdfunder. We're excited to come back next month and tell you about the response that people will have had to watching it in cinemas. And that's everything for today. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much. See you next month. Bye.